Alrighty, everybody. Tonight we are covering still our book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, and we're continuing in part 3, which is Extraordinary Results, Unlocking the Possibilities Within You. And last week we covered the goal setting to the now, where we had to go through and put together our goals from right now all the way up through the someday goal. And I wanted to, give a little bit of time for everyone to talk about that at first, to see if you were able to come up with something that was about goal setting to the now. Who was able to do that? I know, Linda, you had sent something to me about that. And if you'd like to share about that, you can, or if anybody else would like to do the same.
Well, if nobody else will, I guess because I'm older, someday is not that far away. So someday in 5 years kind of together. My someday, my ultimate is just to be in God's will, to do everything He's asked me to do in this life. And so that's my someday. My 5-year, I am hoping that by that time I have a speaking tour kind of thing established and going, and I have other avenues of that going. And by that time, I'm hoping to have built a house where I have a teaching kitchen in the house. So that's my 5-year. And then working it back from there is, now, I sent it to you. I don't remember what I actually wrote for that, but working it back, I know that by the end of this year, I need to have gotten certified for the speaking tour. And even before that, this month, I have to get my taxes done so I can pay for the speakers or the coaching school. And so I guess that's coming back. So it's just every day trying to work on those things.
Yeah, I actually have your notes if you want me to refer to that and share. The someday is live and work from a home I design. That was your someday goal at that point. 5-year, have a thriving speaking schedule. 1 year, begin speaking as a certified financial coach. This month, let's see, based on tax return, contact Dave Ramsey to do that, to work on that. This week, finish taxes. Today, work on taxes. And now, pray. I love that. Hello, Vincent. Welcome, welcome. We're just going over goal setting to the now. That was part of what we covered last week. And Linda had shared what she had completed. So any of you other ladies that were here last week, were any of you able to go through and finish your goal setting to the now?
I actually worked on mine. I didn't send you a photo of it because it's back and front and my camera sucks.
So. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. But give us a little snippet, Jennifer, of what you were able to find.
My someday goal is to have, I put down, I would like to have a residual income where I can stay at home and also change the lives of people. My 1-year goal is to find a lead, to be a leader. Oh, that's my 5-year goal, to be a leader. And then my 1-year goal is to find a mentor that can guide me successfully in longevity, because my leader I currently have right now is not really helping me out. I'm not really going anywhere with longevity right now. So my 1-month goal is to come up with an emergency fund and get my bills ahead, so I can do all that. And then my weekly goal is to see my goals, to trying to read this. My own writing, it's horrible. to set my goals, to hustle to reach my 1 month goal. Then my daily goal is to go out each and every day to hustle up the funds I need to get where I need to be able to even work on my business. And then my right now goal is just to relax and pray when I'm not out hustling, and just be thankful that for what I get every day I'm out.
Well, thank you very much. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and Peggy said she'll share hers next week as her plan is in the process. And remember that you can have goals for many different things, and you can be working on them and kind of have a plan for what it is. Remember, you need a map to be able to know where you're going. And that's why this is really terrific, because you're reverse engineering to where you want to be in that someday. My someday goal I put was a home at the beach. My 5-year goal was to have 9 star legs. So that would put me at a 5-star, right? 1-year goal to help my son to be able to graduate high school, right? And get him settled into his college. He's actually taking college courses now as a junior in high school, and then he'll graduate next spring. But sign up 24 people and build 2-star so that I would have 3 for me to be a 2-star. So I need 3 1-star legs to do that. Monthly goal is sign up 2 people every single month. Weekly goal is to spend time in person with at least 1 to 2 people. Daily goal is, of course, to do the 2 coffee shop interviews and 1 3-way. And right now is create websites. And so I'm creating 2 websites, one for my personal, which I've just published, and then one for my team, so they have resources and things to go to, so we can, work together in that way. So remember that the future purpose connects to the present priority. So that tells you what you need to do right now by looking at your someday goals and reverse engineering them back to today, and figure out what you can do now in order to achieve them in a reasonable thing. Now, this really, I just noticed this in the back of the book. I don't know if you guys have figured this out, but do not disturb. I'm working on my one thing. Did you all see this come up? It's in the back of the book, a little handout. And on the other side, in case I can't say no, this sign will have to do it for me, which I thought was adorable. So this is going to be important because of what we're going to talk about today. So today we're continuing in part 3, and we're going to cover chapters 15 and 16. And 15 is Live for Productivity. And Margarita Tartakovsky says productivity isn't about being a workhorse, keeping busy, or burning the midnight oil. It's more about priorities, planning, and fiercely protecting your time. So sometimes you have to fiercely protect it with a sign. If you can't say it yourself because you don't have the wherewithal yet, this sign can do it for you in a pleasant way, kind of humorous, right? So we talked last week about Ebenezer Scrooge and how his story ended up to be very different than his beginnings because he acted and he got up and got going. And that's what we need to do. We need to change our story so we can make things happen differently. Productive action transforms lives. There's no better word than productivity to describe what you want from what you do when the outcome matters, right? You describe what you want from what you do. All right, so what we do defines our life more than anything else. Putting together a life of extraordinary results simply comes down to getting the most out of what you do when what you do matters. So then he was talking about people that he's coaching. He would ask them, what type of time managing system do you use? And they'll come up with something like electronic calendar, for example. And he'll say, how did you choose that? And they'll invariably describe the format, not the function, what they are, not how they work. And he'll say, well, that's great, but what kind of system do you use? And then they say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, if everyone has the same amount of time, and yet some earn more than others, can we then say that it's how we use our time that determines the money we make? And they always agree. And then he goes on, if this is true, that time is money, then the best way to describe a time managing system might just be by the money it makes. So do you think you're using a $10,000 a year system, a $20,000 a year, 50, 100,000, 500,000, $1 million system? And then they're silent. And then they say, how do we know? And he said, well, how much do you make? If money is a metaphor for producing results, then it's clear a time managing system's success can be judged by the productivity it produces. The most successful people are the most productive people. Productive people get more done, achieve better results, and earn far more in their hours than the rest. They devote maximum time to being productive on their top priority, their one thing. And I love Francine J's quote, my goal is no longer to get more done, but rather have less to do. Oh, hang on for 1 second. I just got a note. Yes. Okay. All right. And then we talk about make an appointment with yourself and keep it. Time block your one thing and then protect your time block. So given my constraints, I've had to find a way to be highly productive in the hours I can put in, because most of us will wander, right? We tend to be wanderers in our minds and our actions because other things will kind of take our attentions away to distract us. The solution is time blocking. Most people think there's never enough time to be successful, but there is when you block it. Time blocking is a very results-oriented way of viewing and using time. It's a way of making sure that what has to be done actually gets done. It's a way of making sure, Alexander Graham Bell said, concentrate all your thoughts upon the work at hand. Time blocking harnesses your energy and centers it on your most important work. It's productivity's greatest power tool. So go to your calendar and block off all the time you need to accomplish your one thing. Block off all the appropriate time every day so it becomes a habit, right? We want that. Hello, Marianne. Everything else, other projects, paperwork, email, whatever, must wait. And you need, when you block like this, you're creating a productive day and it's repeatable, right? So I'm going to show you something really quick, and I need to update this because it has changed. But this is something that I had learned through some other training, but it's all very similar because, as you know, the successful people will do the same thing. So here's a calendar that I have, right? And because I'm redoing my office, I've got this calendar with schedules that can be up on the wall to show what it is that you need to do based upon the things that you have. And the point of this particular process is that you block everything first. When you're first starting out, you block in the time you wake up, how long it takes you to brush your teeth, take a shower, have your breakfast, have your lunch, have your dinner, all the things that you have to do through the day. And this is very productive in helping you to find the time, because a lot of people will say, I don't have the time. And you don't realize that there's a lot of time that you may not be using productively. And so that's a big thing. And it doesn't need to be anything fancy. It can just be something that you can stick up on the wall that can remind you of what it is that you need to get done. Okay. And Peggy said, that is a challenge for me with network marketing, as working around incidental calls from team members, prospects, training, etc. You have a big wall. However, I find blocking out time, I cannot do network marketing, sometimes works. Yes. And so then you'll see the spaces. And that's what I want you to focus on, are the spaces. Now he's going to talk with us very specifically about what is required. And I found this to be really fascinating because it's a lot more than you thought it was going to be. Okay. So let's go on. Let's continue here. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Okay, so repeatable. Then he talks about the typical day of how most people are, is that they'll do everything and then they somehow, not even with a specific time frame, it's just kind of added in there somewhere, right? They're not even really doing it when you think you should be doing it. It's just when you kind of can make it happen. But he talks into a productive day, the one thing comes first and then everything else comes after, right? And so that's where we need to start thinking about it. If disproportionate results come from one activity, then you must give that one activity disproportionate time. And you can ask the focusing question when you're blocking your time today, what's the one thing I can do for my one thing, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. You'll be doing the most leveraged activity for your most leveraged work. And those who do this are the ones who not only become the most accomplished, but who also have the most career opportunities. Slowly but surely, they become known in their organization for their one thing and become irreplaceable. Okay, because you're recognized as a person who's actually capable of doing so much more in the same amount of time, right? So no one can imagine or tolerate the cost of losing them. The opposite is equally true, by the way, for those who get lost in the land of everything else. You never want to get lost in that land. Once you've done your one thing for the day, you can devote the rest of it to everything else. Just use the focusing question to identify your next priority and give that task the time it deserves. Repeat this approach until your workday is done. A calendar records appointments, but doesn't care who those appointments are with. That was really poignant to me because I've had to stop and think about that it's the time that you're blocking and you don't necessarily know exactly what it is you're going to be doing, but that's the time you've dedicated to your one thing, to the most important thing you can do now, right? And I thought that was really cool, that the calendar doesn't care who those appointments are with. So when you know your one thing, make an appointment with yourself to tackle it. Great success shows up when time is devoted every day to becoming great. To achieve extraordinary results and experience greatness, time block these three things in the following order. Time block your time off. That's first. Time block your one thing, and then time block your planning time. So when you time block your time off, the most successful simply see themselves as working between vacations, right? So plan about it. So for example, we just came back from the TAC trip where we got to hang out with Marianne and Ken and had a wonderful time, right? But now this is what Andy and I have to look forward to. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see, 254 days to our next cruise. So I have a little countdown to my next cruise. So we have it on the calendar whenever we plan to do things. And actually next week, we're going to go down to North Palm to visit Andy's dad and stepmother and spend some time with them. And so these are things that we put on the calendar and we work our schedules around that. And so I was really happy to know we got that thing right? There's so many things I look at and I go, oh boy, I got a lot of work to do. Well, I'm glad I know how to plan my vacations, right? So now, by planning your time off in advance, you are, in effect, managing your work time around your downtime instead of the other way around. So it makes sure that you get those times done. And 6 days to the women's cruise. Yay! I'm so happy for you. And Peggy, you've also learned to block out your time first. Yes, and let's make statement here, Peggy, that you have special time set aside for Ed, right? And we all need to set aside special time for the special people in our lives, whether they're friends or whether they're significant others or whether they're children or parents, or, make sure that you block out those times because those times are very important. Okay. So when you do this, when you block out your time off, you're letting everyone else know well in advance when you'll be out so they can plan accordingly. intend to be successful, protecting time to recharge and reward yourself. So you'll deserve it, and you're going to be working hard in the meantime so that you can enjoy that and then enjoy more as time goes forward. And remember that resting is as important as working. You know, God created the earth in the 6 days, and on the seventh day he rested. And so that's what we're supposed to do too, right? We need that time to recharge and rest. It's very, very important. Time block your one thing is the number 2 part, right? The most productive people, the ones who experience extraordinary results, design their days around doing their one thing. Their most important appointment each day is with themselves, and they never miss it. Who is like me that will often let things get away from them because they're putting out fires for somebody else? Yeah, right. We go through that, right? And it's hard because, you know, most of us in network marketing and in longevity, we're trying to help other people. And so it's by nature, it's our personal way of doing things that we just want to help people first. And we often will forget about ourselves until the very last, and we leave ourselves last, and then we don't take care of it. Jennifer, I just completed my first goal and almost through my second goal, but I took a break before I started my second so I could revitalize. Good. That's perfect. Yes. So yeah, we do need those breaks, but you have to make sure that you take care of this one thing as well, right? Use the focusing question to tell them how they can use the time that they have left, right? That we use when we're doing it. Think about it. Schedule your most important thing, and then what do you have left over, and then start using your focusing question on the other things that you have in your life. If you have a specific goal for your one thing, finish it regardless of time. This is not 9 to 5, people, right? My work is done when it's done. We have to keep going until we get it finished. The most productive people work on event time. They don't quit until their one thing is done. Block time as early in your day as you possibly can, because inevitably, right, other things will try to jump in and take control of your time. Now, listen to this. He recommends 4 hours a day. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. But we're talking about life-changing activities. We're talking about creating something that can take you away from the everyday stuff you're dealing with now and change your life for the better for the future. And he even says, if you can do more, then do it. And he talks about, for himself, mornings are prime time. Oh, actually, he talks about Stephen King. Mornings are his prime writing time. And then the question is, does he get to do this because he is Stephen King, or is he Stephen King because he does this? So what do successful people do with their time, right? Efficiency is doing the thing right. Effectiveness is doing the right thing. That's Peter Drucker made that statement. Okay, so think about this. Within a week, they were talking about an executive assistant who was beginning to create those boundaries, right? And so she was setting the appointments and what she needed to do, but she always had people driving by, right? Those drive-bys of people interrupting and trying to come in and take away your time and distract you. Within a week, everyone became accustomed to the fact that for regular periods of time, she would not be accessible. They adjusted. A week. Do we know anybody here that might be like that? Right? Yeah. Life went on. She experienced a huge leap in productivity. I have a feeling that this particular page might be photocopied and blown up and put up in somebody's office. Just a little thought. Stephen King is time blocking because his wife gave him an ultimatum. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you, Linda. That's pretty funny. So no matter who you are, large time blocks do work, right? And then we go on to see, who is this? Paul Graham divided all work into 2 buckets, maker and manager, right? A maker, they do and create. A manager oversees and directs. And a maker time requires large blocks of the clock because that's where you're creating that future. That's where you're making things happen. Manager time, on the other hand, gets divided into hours. That's kind of like what Peggy was talking about, where your team is calling and things are happening and you have to follow up. And why is this not showing up in the back office? And why is this showing up this way? And how come the double QV isn't there, right? Things like that. That's manager time. That's not maker time. That's not what's going to make your future hugely successful, tremendous, right? Be a maker in the morning and a manager in the afternoon. And then the third time block is planning time. Reflect on where you are and where you want to go. For annual planning, late enough in the year so you have a sense of your trajectory, but not so late that you lose your running start for the next year. Take a look at your someday and 5-year goals and assess the progress you must make in the next year to be on track. You can add new goals, re-envision old ones, or eliminate any that no longer reflect your purpose or priorities. That made me think of plan, do, review, right? Because that's what we need to do. We plan it, we do it, and then we review it and we modify it based upon the things that come up, right? We can continue the things that work and change the things that don't. Every woman gives her man an ultimatum, though. That's true. Isn't that funny? Block an hour each week to review your annual and monthly goals. So you need to see, where are you in your month? Because we're setting these goals. In order to get there, you have to focus on those daily and weekly, daily, and hourly and right now goals to make sure you're meeting those monthly goals. So first, ask what needs to happen that month for you to be on target for your annual goals. Then ask what must happen that week to be on course for your monthly goals. Based on where I am right now, what's the one thing I need to do this week to stay on track for my monthly goal and for my monthly goal to be on track for my annual goal? You're lining up the dominoes, right? Now, then he goes on to talk about Jerry Seinfeld. And what Jerry Seinfeld was explaining is to someone else about how he plans his time to prepare for comedy and how to be a better comedian and writing those jokes. And so he did, that was his one thing, by the way, writing jokes, and he did it every day. And for him, the way that he could do it, it was really simple, okay? Put a big X on the day that he wrote jokes, right? And so every single day that he worked on his craft, after a few days, you'll have a chain, right? You see the X's on the calendar right there, right? So you're going to see that happening every single day. You put an X up for the time that you do the part that you're supposed to do. Keep it up, and the chain will grow longer every day. You'll like seeing the chain, especially when you get a few weeks under your belt. Your only job is to not break the chain. Don't break the chain. This makes me think of 65 and a Wake Up, and how we make sure that we do those 2 coffee shop interviews and 1 3-way every single day. You can't break the chain. It's the same thing when Tom talks about program, and for people who are dealing with substance abuse. You can't break the chain of sobriety, because then you have to go back and start all over again, right? So, but the system is designed to bring your biggest goal to the now and simply focus on making the next X. Walter Elliott said, perseverance is not a long race. It is many short races, one after another. As you complete these short races and get a chain going, it gets easier and easier. Momentum and motivation start to take over. So you start to see positive shifts and results as you continue to do it. And again, in 65 and a Wake Up, when we got to that 20th day and that 30th day, where in the beginning we thought, no way am I going to be able to do this. All of a sudden, it's coming together. It begins to work, and it's flowing, and it's just happening. And then all of a sudden, you're tripping over the people that you're having interviews with. And then that's when things begin to really get crazy, because then you get to pick and choose, right? You get to pick and choose who you're going to work with and who you're going to help next. And that's a great place to be. There's magic in knocking down your most important domino day after day. Avoid breaking the chain one day at a time. Again, program. Just take it one day at a time. Although time blocking isn't hard, protecting the time you've blocked is. It's your job to protect your time blocks from all those who don't know what matters most to you, and from yourself when you forget. The best way to protect your time block is to adopt the mindset that they cannot be moved. So when someone tries to double book you, just say, I'm sorry, I already have an appointment at that time, and offer other options. I've done this, and there's been times where I know it's something that I need to get done, and I know it's important, but I know the thing that I had planned was my one thing. And it feels weird at first when you first start to do it. I already have an appointment at that time, but that appointment is for me. It's my appointment with me to do my one important thing. And that is very important. Okay. So you can be, if they're disappointed, you're sympathetic, but you're still unmoved. It's just as if, say, I have a dental appointment, in your head. It's the same thing. It's your appointment with you, but it's something that you can't do, and you can't easily replace it, right? There are circumstances where things will happen, and we're going to talk about that, right? Sometimes the request of the other person is real, needs to be done right now, and you must drop what you're doing and do it. In this situation, follow the rule: if you erase, you must replace, and immediately reschedule your time block. And I wrote in the margin, don't make it a habit, right? Don't let it happen often. Linda, I appreciated the only time block, the one thing, Monday through Friday, weekends off, right? Exactly. Okay, so fully internalize the domino fall that will happen when your one thing gets done. And remember that everything else you might do or have to do will be easier or unnecessary. So when you start doing these things and it's all coming together, you really appreciate the fact that you were stern about keeping that appointment with yourself. And he said that he would put up a sheet of paper that says, until my one thing is done, everything else is a distraction. Let's see, day in and day out, your own need to do other things instead of your one thing may be your biggest challenge to overcome. Life doesn't simply simplify itself the moment you simplify your focus. There's always other stuff screaming to be done. So when stuff pops into your head, just write it down on a task list and get back to what you're supposed to be doing. Do a brain dump, then put it out of sight and out of mind until that particular item's time has come. And here are 4 proven ways to battle distractions. Build a bunker. Find somewhere to work that takes you out of the path of disruption and interruption. I had started making one of the bedrooms in my house into a designated office long before I started reading this book. And so there was a part of me that was saying, that's wasting time. I don't need to do that. I should be focusing on other things. But I needed specific space. I needed the ability to come in here and work. And this is where I come to get my work done. And so it has been one of the most productive things that I could do for myself to give me that space. 2, store provisions. I thought this was hysterical. I don't necessarily know that I need to have snacks in the room, but I always have water. I always have something with me that's going to, keep me good. Marianne, do you want to add something? Or are you just agreeing? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I would say I would need snacks. if I was blocking 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. You need a snack?
In 4 hours, I would.
Okay. Well, I think that you can go
avoid leaving the bunker.
Don't leave the bunker. Yeah. Okay. So avoid leaving the bunker. This is really funny. Sweep for minds. Turn off your phone, shut down your email, and exit your internet browser. Your most important work deserves 100% of your attention. Oof. I don't know. That's really hard. But I did go through some training with Mark Januszewski, and that's one of the things that he talked about was basically unplugging yourself. And he wanted us to unplug ourselves for like days, like several days in a row. And I I was like, I don't think I can do this. So you try and play with it and go, I'll do it over the weekend. I'll do it over this, like if I didn't have to worry about something else. But it's really hard, especially if you have people in your life, like adult children who are often doing stuff and, things come up and you need to talk with them, or, parents that are in need, or, anything that can happen, something that you've got. We all have stuff out there that needs to have that contact, but it's really interesting because life can go on and you can get more done if you kind of learn to shut it off. And also, if you let people know, say, I'm down for this time, you're not going to be able to reach me, just letting you know. And then they can respect that and they can say, oh, are you done with your time, Mom? Is everything okay? And so that would be a terrific thing to get yourself set for. Your most important work deserves 100% of your attention. Enlist support. Tell those most likely to seek you out what you're doing and when you'll be available, right? So they won't even come looking for you because they already know she's not going to be there. She's doing a thing, right? What's the one thing I can do to protect my time block every day, such by doing it, everything else I might do will be easier or unnecessary. So you need to protect. And if it means just putting up this little sign, right? Front or back, either one could be it. We were talking about, this is in the back of the book, Marianne, and I didn't realize it until just today. I found the little thing. So you can put it up there and it can speak for you if you have difficulty speaking up for yourself. So big ideas, connect the dots. Extraordinary results become possible when where you want to go is completely aligned with what you do today. Tap into your purpose and allow the clarity, there's that word, clarity, to dictate your priorities. 2, time block your one thing. Block time early in the day and block big chunks of it, no less than 4 hours. 3, protect your time block at all costs. Nothing and no one has permission to distract me from my one thing. Be creative when you can be and firm when you must. Your time block is the most important meeting of your day, so whatever it takes to protect it is what you have to do. Getting more done in the hours you work. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 15. Any questions or comments before we go on to the 3 commitments in chapter 16? Good to go? Okay, let's do it. Okay. Achieving extraordinary results through time blocking requires 3 commitments. First, you must adopt the mindset of someone seeking mastery. Mastery is a commitment to becoming your best. Second, continually seek the very best way of doing things. You must be willing to be held accountable to do everything you can to achieve your one thing. So follow the path of mastery, move from E to P, and live the accountability cycle. So mastery, when you can see mastery as a path you go down instead of a destination you arrive at, it starts to feel accessible and attainable. Mastery is a way of thinking, a way of acting, and a journey you experience. So stop thinking about it as being, I got there. It's, I'm on my way, right? You're on your way. For me, it would be turning my phone off completely so I don't hear the buzzing and notifications. Yes, that's true. I agree with you, Peggy. Mastery plays a key role in your domino run. An apprentice learning and relearning the basics on a never-ending journey of greater experience and expertise is the process of mastery. The creativity you seek at a black belt level comes from mastery of the white belt fundamentals. Again, the 2 coffee shop interviews and 1 3-way are the very basics. And that's how you continue to do those over and over again, because when you master those simple activities, it's going to create mastery, and then you will be able to go to the next level and be able to take this to a point to create those someday goals that you're looking for. Mastery means you're a master of what you know and an apprentice of what you don't. We become masters of what is behind us and apprentices for what is ahead. This is why mastery is a journey. And then psychologist Kay Anders Erickson wrote in The Role of Deliberate Practice in the Acquisition of Expert Performance, he talked about the 10,000 hour rule. There's a common pattern of regular and deliberate practice over the course of years in elite performers that made them what they were. Many elite performers complete their journey in about 10 years, which, if you do the math, is an average of 3 hours of deliberate practice a day, every day, 365 days a year. So if your one thing relates to work and you put in 250 work days a year, 5 days a week for 50 weeks, that's 2 weeks vacation, right? To keep pace on your mastery journey, you'll need to average 4 hours a day. Sound familiar? Right? So it is not a random number. Oh, good. Jennifer just put her phone on silent. Good job. More than anything else, expertise tracks with hours invested. And Michelangelo said, if the people knew how hard I had to work to gain my mastery, it wouldn't seem wonderful at all. That is astounding to consider what a masterful artist he was, to think that it's about the amount of time he committed to it over time that really makes it not so incredible. Time on a task over time eventually beats talent every time. When you commit to time block your one thing, make sure you approach it with a mastery mentality. And the great thing is the pursuit of mastery bears gifts. Your self-confidence and your success competence will grow. So as you're mastering this, you're going to get better and better at all of the simple things and even the bigger things. Giving yourself over to mastering one thing serves as a platform for and speeds up the process of doing other things. Knowledge begets knowledge, and skill builds on skill. It's what makes future dominoes fall more easily. Mastery is a pursuit that keeps giving because it's a path that never ends. And then he talks about this beautiful story of the founder of judo. And when he was dying, he told them he wanted to be buried in his white belt. Think about it. He was the master of judo, but he was a white belt in the afterlife, right? Because to him, the journey of the successful lifelong learner was never over. Isn't that beautiful? I thought that was really, really cool. The next section is move from E to P, right? So when he would be coaching top performers, he would ask, this is Gary Keller asking, are you doing this to simply do the best you can, or are you doing this to do the best it can be done? The path of mastering something is the combination of not only doing the best you can do at it, but also doing the best it can be done. It's called moving from E to P. E is entrepreneurial and P is purposeful. Entrepreneurial is our natural approach. It's seeing something we want to do or that needs to be done and racing off to do it with enthusiasm, energy, and our natural abilities. No matter the task, all natural abilities have a ceiling of achievement, a level of productivity and success that eventually tops out. And this will vary from person to person and even from task to task. When you're going about your one thing, any ceiling of achievement must be challenged, and this requires a different approach, a purposeful approach. Highly productive people don't accept the limitations of their natural approach. They look for new models and systems, things to push them through. They examine their options, pick the best one, and then they're right back at it. So, right? With a P mindset, you can achieve breakthroughs and accomplish things far beyond your natural abilities. You must simply be willing to do whatever it takes. The purposeful person follows the simple rule that a different result requires doing something different. And in the sideline, I wrote, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? So if you want different results, you're going to have to do something differently. People on the path to mastery avoid this by continually upping their goal, challenging themselves to break through their current ceiling and staying the forever apprentice. And he was talking about what happens with the entrepreneurial approach and the purposeful approach, okay? And he talks here, you can see here, this is the ceiling, this thick line. And here you're hitting that ceiling and you're just kind of bouncing off. You never can get through. But with the purposeful approach, you have this ability to break through and go beyond that ceiling, right? You need to be able to find a different way to get through it so you don't keep bouncing up and over it. Accepting an okay plateau or any other ceiling of achievement isn't okay when it applies to your one thing. Approaching things with E is comfortable because it feels natural, but it's also limiting. When E is our only approach, we create artificial limits to what we can achieve and who we can become. When we think we've maxed out our potential in this situation, starting over is how we think we'll get ahead. The problem is this becomes a vicious cycle of taking on the next new thing with renewed enthusiasm, energy, natural ability, and effort until another ceiling is hit and disappointment and resignation set in once again. This made me think of people who have hopped from company to company, right? You see people that will bounce around, and the truth is that the only failure that doesn't lead to success is the one that makes you stop. So you need to make sure no matter what, you're going to continue forward, stay the course, and now think about and reevaluate your circumstance and your direction so that you can do something that's going to change it and make it better. Okay. The purposeful approach says, I'm still committed to growing, so what are my options? And I do remember that somebody in 65 and a Wake Up said, I'm still committed. So it made me think either they read the book or it just happened to go through. Coincidence? I don't know, right? I don't believe in coincidence. Peggy and I had this conversation before. You then use the focusing question to narrow those choices down to the next thing you should do. Follow a new model, get a new system, or both, but be prepared. Implementing these may require new thinking, new skills, and even new relationships. Being purposeful is often about doing what comes unnaturally. You simply do whatever it takes anyway. When you've done the best you can do, but are certain the results aren't the best they can be, get out of E and into P. Adopt new thinking, new skills, and new relationships to help you put them into action. There's an undeniable connection between what you do and what you get. Actions determine outcomes, and outcomes inform actions. Be accountable. Taking complete ownership of your outcome by holding no one but yourself responsible for them is the most powerful thing you can do to drive your success. Accountability is the most important of the three commitments. Without it, your journey down the path will be cut short the moment you encounter a challenge. Without it, you won't figure out how to break through the ceilings of achievement you'll hit along the way. Accountable people absorb setbacks and keep going. They persevere through problems and keep pushing forward. They are results-oriented and never defend actions, skills, levels, models, systems, or relationships that just aren't getting the job done. They bring their best to whatever it takes without reservation. Accountable people achieve results others only dream of. When life happens, you can be either the author of your life or the victim of it, which means you're accountable or unaccountable. Every day we choose one approach or the other, and the consequences follow us forever. So an accountable person says, what's happening here? Whereas another person says they refuse to acknowledge what's happening as a blip, a glitch, an anomaly, and shrug it off. And I love the graphic on the following page, which talks about what an accountable person will do and what a person who is not accountable would do. So an accountable person seeks reality, what's happening, acknowledges reality, this is the way it is, owns it, if it's to be, it's up to me, finds solutions, what can I do, gets on with it, okay, let's do it. Whereas a victim waits and hopes, if it was meant to be, it'll happen. Personal excuses, it's not my job. Blame, if everyone would just do their job. Fights reality, that's not how I see it. Avoids reality, asks no questions. So don't be a victim, live the cycle of accountability. So this is the way it is, and take ownership of the problem. If it is to be, it's up to me. Be willing to address reality head on. So let's see. Accountability. What can I do? The moment you find the right tactic, you act. Circumstances won't change by themselves. Now, going back to the word victim, that's a very, very tough word, describing the attitude, not the person. However, they could become one and the same if the process continues on and on. The more you choose the cycle of accountability, the more likely it is to become your automatic answer to any adversity. Highly successful people are clear about their role in the events of their life. They don't fear reality. Fear false expectation appearing real, right? So take that note into mind. They seek it, acknowledge it, and own it. This is the only way to uncover new solutions, apply them, and experience a different reality. Take responsibility and run with it. See outcomes as information to frame better actions to get better outcomes. Find an accountability partner. It can be a mentor, a peer, or a coach. Give your partner license to lay out the honest truth. They're not meant to be a cheerleader, although they can lift you up. They need to provide frank, objective feedback on your performance, create an ongoing expectation for productive progress, and can provide critical brainstorming or even expertise when needed. However, I will add, they shouldn't be critical to the point of tearing you down. So you need to make sure that this is constructive. This is going to be something that's going to be beneficial and helpful to you, or you need to find another mentor or coach. Yes, Jennifer, I'll send you a copy of the page. Let's see, best provided by someone to whom you agree to be truly accountable. You have to agree that you're going to be accountable to them. Individuals who wrote their goals and sent progress reports to friends were 76.7% more likely to achieve them. Simply sharing your progress towards your goals with someone regularly makes you almost twice as effective. Accountability works. The single most important difference between these amateurs and the three groups of elite performers is that the future elite performers seek out teachers and coaches and engage in supervised training. So the big ideas for the chapter are: 1, commit to be your best. Give the best you have to become the best you can be at your most important work. The path to mastery, remember, mastery takes time and it takes commitment, and it is not a destination, it's a journey. Be purposeful about your one thing. Move from E to P. Go on a quest for the models and systems that can take you the farthest. Don't just settle for what comes naturally. Be open to new thinking, new skills, and new relationships. Take ownership of your outcomes. Being a victim won't work. Change occurs only when you're accountable. Find a coach. When you time block your most important priority, protect your time block and then work your time block as effectively as possible. You'll be as productive as you can be. And then you just have to avoid getting hijacked. And that's to follow in chapter 17 and then 18. Actually, not next week, but the week after. So 2 weeks from tonight. So that's the end of our study for today. Any comments or questions?
I don't think I have that thing in the back of my book.
You don't have
Little
the
door.
same, this guy?
I got a different book.
I don't have it either.
You don't have it either? Oh, I thought it was the cutest thing. When a closed door doesn't
It
say
is
enough,
cute.
add a time blocking door hanger. I thought it was so cute. I'll send you a little picture of it. How about that? You can put that.
Oh, yeah. No, that'd be good. I'll make my own.
You need to put it on your forehead, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How to say no. How to say no to all that stuff.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Cool. I didn't even go over I just realized I didn't do my little, weren't we supposed to work on this?
You did. Yes. Share with what you have. What did you do?
I got nothing. I forgot. That's what I mean. I opened it up and I had my note in here to work on it and I forgot to work on it.
Well, you'll have to do it
So
for
I'll have to work.
or for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yep.
Next.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be gone next week. We're just. All right.
Yeah.
You did share?
They did. Yes, we did. I shared mine. Jennifer shared hers. Linda shared hers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you have to go back and watch the beginning of the recording and you can see that part in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Peggy had to leave. She said, sorry, she had to excuse herself. Thank you. Love you all.
All right.
So anything else before we close up?
That's all I got.
All right, kiddos. Oh, yeah, Colleen missed book club too. Okay. Well, I love you all.
All right.
and
Thanks. You guys.
Thank you. And oh, good, Melissa. We'd love to. Well, next week, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. So we'll reconvene again.
Oh, good, Melissa. Okay.
Yeah, in 2
You
weeks.
and I can share.
Look at our dates. Hold on, let's see. So today is the 15th. So hang on. Next week
It'll
we
be
will
like
not have the one thing on the 22nd, but
So
we
it'll be
will have it on the
the
29th.
29th.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
That worked. All right, kiddos, if
Okay.
that's it, we all need to go and get on the training for the services or go watch Jeevers, because that's what's going to be happening right now. So I love you all. God bless. And I
Can you send me the info? Can you send me the info to the meeting? Because I don't have it, the longevity
oh,
meeting.
the info to the, which one? There's several.
The ones that are coming up tonight.
Oh, you're on Facebook, Jennifer? Are you
Yes,
on
I am.
Okay, if you go to the services page, you can go to longevity services page, and it'll have that in there, because you have to sign up for that, because it sends you like a specific link, I believe. And then the other one is Facebook under Jeever's page. If you go to Jeever's page, so if you look up Sanjeev, and he has a new page called Jeever's page. Okay.
No,
Called
I don't
Ask
think I've come across.
Jeevers.
Ooh.
Ask
Ask Jeevers. You're
Jeevers.
right. You're right. And listen, I have to run. That's my hubby on the other line. So I will catch you all in the other, I'll be in the services one. So God bless. Love you all.